All right, today's project down at Cooter's Garage. The Load Lifter 5000 Ultimate Adjustable Air Spring. Up to 5,000 pounds of load leveling support. Old Cooter and I will be installing that on this Chevy pickup truck. So we'll be working back here today. Okay, changing out this coolant reservoir because he's getting a low coolant idiot light on there. So we bought a whole new unit that has a new float switch inside there. There was an electrical connection down on the bottom. Obviously, I got the pick tool. This hose is coming off. Sheet metal screw in the bottom, one sheet metal screw, and obviously to get it, one of the two batteries needed to be removed to give me some access in here. Here's the new one. Just remove that. So that perfect match. Yeah, perfect match. Yeah, a little bit of coolant in it. Lost a little bit, but
well, I've got a gallon right there. So
I still don't understand what the purpose is of that second cap over down low on the bottom.
I don't know either.
Unless, yeah, it just seems like the location of it'd just be one hell of a mess opening that up and draining it, basically.
Well, I took that thing off and I was looking
Okay, we found that there were two little feet at the bottom that just slide in, locks this thing into place. The electrical's in. Tighten up that bolt, hook this hose up, easy peasy. So there we go. This thing's in place. The hose is reattached. The bolt right here. Oh, what are you gonna do? Mix it?
Yeah, that's kind of...
So this is a 2017. You can see it's a Denali. Nice looking truck. In addition to changing that overflow tank out, you can see the early process of a nice fancy cold air intake is going on to this as well. In addition to the bags, you can see the piece right there that'll attach and go into the intake. Not bad. So Mike's mixing up a 50-50 concoction of coolant and DI water for this.
Table yet? We're like, no, not yet. They sat us down.
Mike thinks this is a 6.6 diesel.
It's a Duramax.
Duramax. So all the batteries hooked back up. Overflow tank. You can see this, kind of nice. This just gives you access to the positive terminal right here. So now back to the intake right here, which we're going to be working on. You can see the filter. So they give you some fancy sheet metal, just kind of boxes this all in. There was a brace that went from right here across. Clearly that does not work with this, so you lose the little brace that went across here on an angle. Geez, what the hell is that? Six inch hose?
Seems like it.
Yeah, that's a big. Oh, it's an adapter, so it's going like 4 to 5 or 4 to 6.
Yeah, it opens up.
Yeah, got a lot of familiarity with these after my snorkel project.
Right.
But same type of nice stainless steel hose clamps. Those are great clamps.
I don't know where that thing will have to be
Yeah.
rotated, but looks like that'll work.
And then it's got an air temp sensor that goes in right there that you have all
That's
prepped.
a mass airflow
Yeah.
meter, and before I drop this in, where is the hose?
Yeah, right here's the plug. Yep.
Okay.
Just kind of setting this thing up.
Yeah, there were no directions with this, but there's only a few parts.
Yeah. It's nice looking. I bet you this thing was pretty expensive. Wouldn't surprise me if this was $400 or $500
Probably.
with a fancy paint job on it and the size of it.
I asked him, did you have your choice in colors? He goes, yeah, why? I go, you got a white truck.
Yeah, with this crazy blue. Look at this. So it's installed. You can see this gasketed area right here. That's going to end up lining up with this. Clearly some air comes through this hood. There's like a plenum. I'm showing it to you right inside there. And it feeds directly into here through the filter and over there into the intake. Bit of a job fitting it in, but now that it's in, it does look good. But it was a little bit of a wrestling match, but it looks really nice.
That mass air sensor on that blue tube is not hitting anything, right?
No, not at all.
Looks pretty good.
We'll zoom right into that. Looks good.
I'm going to leave him the rest of this tool at the bed of his truck.
Pretty install. Right, so Mike's going to close this, and we're going to see how this lines up with the intake, and then we'll show you where the actual air is coming in. Okay, see that right there? Okay, so it must sandwich it down.
Doesn't look like it lines up exactly perfect.
Let me look at it this way. Go up a little.
There is a gap.
It's pretty damn close, Mike. Looking at it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing you could do, you could put...
You know what I wonder, Rick? Look at that boot. See how it's angled this way? I wonder if I put it on backwards. See how it kind of...
Oh, well, you make a good point. I think this might be tapered.
It looks like
yeah.
the boot's coming in over here.
Is it tapered?
We can flip that.
Yeah, we might reverse this just to... you can see how it has an offset, and I guess if we look at it that way, there's a slight taper to it. So it could be
I transferred it from the
yeah.
original airbox.
That's how it was on the original?
They may have said...
What I'm doing is I'm just showing you this is actually where all the air comes in the hood through a plenum over here, and then it's sealed up right here at the intake where you saw it. All right, so Mike had put a leveling kit and new shocks on this pickup truck. Brings it into the garage, sloping downward a little bit. So now he's going to work on the torsion bars. He's made some measurements from the floor to the lip of the fender well. The passenger side is about a ½ inch higher than the driver's side. Mike, I got a creeper here for you.
That's all right. I don't think I'll fit.
Okay.
I'm only going right here.
I saw the bar turning. Great news. Great news.
Up to a 35-inch tire.
Yeah, Mike was able to adjust those torsion bars. We have 41 inches now. He got a good inch and a half out of it. They're completely the same on the driver and passenger side. So
the level looks better too.
Yeah, so 41 inches from the floor to the bottom of this lip on both sides.
It's not quite level.
Yeah.
It's still a little tail high, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, plus you're using a torpedo level. I mean, if you had a 4-footer on there. But pretty impressive, yeah. So that's a case of torsion bars working nicely, the key working as it's supposed to.
You want to show them?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
These are I call them pork chops.
Yeah.
These are
So you changed those out.
rusty.
How hard was it to change that key?
The bar is just a giant spring that twists.
Yeah.
These were actually, as rusty as these were, they came out with the air chisel.
Yeah, wow.
Banging on the side. I don't know, you can see where I banged on them.
So Bob, when you watch this video, this is going to bring back some bad memories of us working on your GMC. So he put new keys in there and it worked like a champ. Truck is completely squared off and leveled nicely from left to right. Yeah, it looks good.
For anybody doing that,
I was going to speak to a minute about torsion bars and these keys and what's involved here, because Bob and I, my friend Bob, ran into this on his GMC and the truck was crooked. And we had to change a threaded part that the bolt went into, and it was quite a disaster. 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, so
unfortunately, I don't have an old torsion bar laying around here. They don't really go bad all that often. I've only seen maybe 2 broken ones in my 40-year automotive existence. But this is the key, or the pork chop. So when you buy this one's from Ready Lift. When you buy a lift kit, what they do is they cut this hex hole slightly different, so that when you put this on the truck, now this may be down a little bit further. That allows you to add more preload to the bar, lifting the vehicle. And these are good for about 2 1/4 inches.
So that came with the lift kit?
Yeah, that's what was in here, brand new torsion bar keys. Mm-hmm. But to get these off, you need a special...
So nothing was changed in the front suspension. The lift was basically changing these.
The lift was all in
for the front. It was all in in the change out of this part right here. Some people think about a leveling kit, they're thinking about some kind of puck or spacer, but not in this case.
So this is a special tool to do torsion bars on this particular chassis. It wraps around the cross member, and if you can picture this in the truck, this over the cross member, this screws up into this dimple and takes the pressure off of this adjuster bolt. Actually, not even the bolt. I pull the bolts out completely, pull the bolts out of the block. Then this will lay down on the block right here. The bolt actually pushes on this part of the bar. So when you take the bolt out, this will be down on the block. You need to put the spring, the compressor in there to pick this up so you can pull the block out. Then you unload the tool. Then this is just sort of floating in there. But the bar, it's kind of a loose fit in here, and you can actually see the wear marks.
Yeah.
Where the bar binds up in that hex. So it's not a snug fit like a socket on a bolt. So that's where the impact, the air hammer comes in. You rattle on the bottom of this a little bit. Sometimes on the back of the bar once it's free to push it out. And then this just falls out.
Drops right out, yeah. And then the new ones are shaped differently to give it more lift, to give it more twist.
They look almost identical. If you overlaid it and put something through here, they would be about 10 degrees off.
Okay.
That's it.
So then the last piece was what you just did, which was basically taking measurements and adjusting the torsion bars.
You can crank up the factory bolts to change the ride height. But you'll notice when you take yours apart, there's only about 3/4 of an inch of thread available. So you'll max them out pretty quick.
Okay.
So they give you re-indexed keys. And then this is the same kind of tool for the older GM chassis. You also use a torsion bar. So there's just these two different ones depending on what you're working on.
Well, rear tires are off. There's this bump stop right there. I'm going to just a good look at what we have here. We'll be installing those. We'll be installing those airlift bags right in there. All right, so the first part of the directions, look at that, just a nice twist. Taking the jounce out, yeah.
It's actually not wrecked.
No, it's not. Same thing needs to happen on the other side. Then we're going to remove a wire. It's like a hardened steel wire for the emergency brake. Perfect.
That worked out pretty good, actually.
Yep. Okay, basically we have removed these bolts for the brake line right here, one on each side. And Mike is removing the bolt for the e-brake cable on the passenger side. So a total of 3 bolts have come out. Then we're going to get into building the spring assembly itself. Okay. You can see that I put these a top piece on and a bottom. You line it up, all right? The directions call for these 90-degree air fittings to be installed on the top of the spring. Tighten finger tight plus 1.5 turns. Be careful to only tighten on the metal hex nut right there. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, the air fitting is tight. Now we have these brackets right here. You can see that they line up like so, and I got to get some beveled screws to thread in there on both of these. Okay, the beveled Allen head bolts right here have been tightened, so you can see the brackets are sitting on top of the air diaphragms. Look at this thing.
I should call my insurance agent and ask them.
There we go. Take a peek right there. So you can see one set up. You can see the way the brackets go like this, but notice the angle on each side, okay? He's working on the airlines. He took the bolts out for the license plate. There were some inserts he removed, and you can see the air fittings are going through there. There's some star washers and a nut, and basically the 2 air fittings. So Mike has basically bringing the airlines out towards the back of the vehicle. So to air these up, if you had your compressor, you would just air up right here at the license plate, much like he does on his F-350.
We talked about onboard air briefly, and I said, Brian, I said, for the amount you're going to use this.
I told my brother Mike that too. I said, just get yourself a nice portable
He
compressor.
carries a little DeWalt one in his truck anyway, at all times.
That's all you need.
You know, airing up a tire or whatever.
Hi, Mike. So we brought the airlines out to the license plate right here, which is kind of nice. There was a heat shield. You can see I'm just kind of prepping it here with the U-bolts. Still have to do the bottom. You can see it's kind of loose right here. Just kind of trying to fit everything in. Now the direction said for the air fitting to be on the top and on the inside of the frame, so it's back there. All right, so the U-bolts
So I got a spread.
have been installed over the frame rail for the top bracket. With washers, nylon nuts, 10 foot-pounds. Mike's sandwiching a bracket around the e-brake cable that'll go on. It'll actually go way back here on that with another serrated flange nut to hold the e-brake cable up there. So far we're just, this is the driver's side right here. Let's go look at the passenger side. Same setup basically with the passenger side. Let me back this out. You can see the two U-bolts, washers, nylon nuts. The only difference is up here, there was a, you can see it right here, there was a heat shield with a bolt. I had to remove that bolt so that the U-bracket could slide underneath the heat shield and hang straight down onto the bracket. So the tops, so as far as Mike and I are concerned, the top portion of these bags is installed. So we're gonna start working on the bottom brackets, securing them. All right, I'm showing you this bracket. This bracket now is gonna go up underneath the axle tube. These carriage bolts are gonna go down through, and then I've got washers and nylon nuts to sandwich the bottom of the brackets. Okay, the U-bolts are done on the top. On the bottom, there are carriage bolts that lock in right here where my fingertip is, and then there's a bracket with a groove in it that goes underneath the axle tube, so it sandwiches the whole bottom assembly. And then over here you can see on each side they give you a short bolt, and you just reattach the brake line and the ABS sensor bracket. So that worked out really well. So this side is completely done. Meanwhile, the airline came through. Here it is right here, and it's coming up and it attaches to that 90-degree connector over here. Maybe we'll get a better look at it on the passenger side. Okay, the passenger side also has a heat shield we installed. You take this piece of sheet metal, you bend these two little offsets, and then there's hose clamps that go around the exhaust pipe, and it gives you a heat shield, which also kind of keeps the heat away from the diaphragm right here. And then the airline also has an insulator. See the airline right here? It's got a heavy insulator that's over it in this area, and that's gonna loop around and go into the air fitting at the top. Don't forget, the air fittings face the inside of the frame, those 90-degree air fittings, and they go towards the top. So we're very, very close to having this system installed. The kit comes with some tie wraps to tie wrap the airline out of harm's way. Take a look at the bracket down on the bottom that sandwiches across the axle tube, so pretty good. All right, you can see the rake on it now, okay? He's got, what did you say, 60 PSI in him?
70 in there.
70? He's gonna let some out right now, but you'll see the bed come down. Wow, those things are impressive.
And this particular model, you don't have to run air on them.
Yeah.
Which is why I told him, go with this one, because a lot of them, you gotta be able to run 5 or 10 pounds in the back all the time. And who wants to keep up with that? Because it can bleed down.
Wow, look at that suspension come right down. Yeah, those are sweet. Good product. I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe a 2.5, 3 hour install. Maybe closer to 3 hours. But again, we didn't watch any videos or anything. We just followed their directions. All in all, pretty good install, good quality product. Okay, let's just hop in here. One last view. So there's a look at the bag, the diaphragm, whatever you want to call it. Pretty impressive. Good install.
Good, I was underneath the truck.